Good morning, my beautiful family and friends. Welcome to another episode of our series of 5784, which is a few quality moments around the Shabbat table with the Rabbi's son. Thank you for joining in and sharing this time on your Sabbath day with me. Today we have the bittersweet privilege of concluding our discussions together of the fourth Sefer, the fourth book, as it's called in the Western world, of the Torah, of the wellspring of Revelation. And we're finishing this book. It's called, in the Western world, it's called Numbers. The actual ancient name of it is Bamidbar, in or of the wilderness, in of the desert, in and of the barren places where teaching and training take place and hard lessons of life are learned. So welcome to this. We will share the last few conversations, last few meditations about the book the world knows as Numbers. And then we'll launch off next week, the Holy One willing, and we will launch off next week into the final concluding Sefer, the book called in the Western world Deuteronomy, the magnum opus of Moshe as he bids us his farewell. 5 weeks of downloads of the wisdom he has gleaned from living life in two realms over the course of 120 years. The wisdom he will download to us is unthinkable in the West, to the modern mind of man. It is so deep, and we've only been prepared for it by what's happened so far. The first four Seferim, the first four Sephirot, the first four books of Torah have been based upon getting us ready for the magnum opus that Moses, as he's known in the Western world, is going to download to us as how to live life well. And that reminds us all, that we try to remind each other on these moments together around the Shabbat table, that we're on a quest, the great quest to find the answers to life's most important questions, and to find it at the source, the creator of the universe himself designed for us to find it in this wellspring called Torah. Torah is not a religious book. It is not a book of laws. What Torah is a door that opens into the heavenlies, and a portal through which the kingdom of heaven, the beauty realm, the fragrance of the heavenlies, and the wisdom and the holiness of the Holy One and His majesty can come through the portal of Torah into our lives, into our minds, into our hearts, and into then our world, because we release it into it. So welcome to this continuation of the quest. So this week, Parshas Mattot and Massei. The address for these studies and our conversations about them will be Numbers chapter 30, verse 1 through Numbers chapter 36, verse 13. That's about 6 chapters. So we're going to cover it on a broad brush and leave the individual specifics to you to talk about around your own Shabbat tables or in your own communities, your own faith walking groups that you deal with, online or in person, wherever you may be. But make sure before this Sabbath is over, you've touched the majesty of these 6 chapters of the fourth book of Torah. All right, so we are now looking into these parshas, and we're coming to grips with something. As we continue our quest and we reach this milestone of the end of the fourth Sefer of Torah, we come to grips with our calling, and we begin to embrace the significance and the magnitude of what we are called to do, who we are called to be. We're called out from all the nations and all the peoples of the world. We're called out from nations that rage and from peoples that imagine a vain thing. We're called out from the world who lives for the moment and lives in the emotions and lives in the pseudo-intellectual ivory tower world of ideas and concepts, to be a people, a counterbalance, a offset people, people who have the kingdom of heaven sent about them and who show and model to the world the king's more excellent way. So we're coming to grips with our calling as we conclude this fourth Sefer of Torah. And we realize that our calling involves extreme visibility. We're not to live in a monastery. We're not to live in a cave. We're not to live in a tomb or in tunnels underground. We're to live in an area, a place of extreme visibility. With visibility comes vulnerability, and with vulnerability comes accountability. So when we come to grips with our calling, we come to grips with being right in front of everybody, on the stage, as it were, of life, in a glass house where everybody can see us and see our flaws and see our faults, and react to those things and judge us if they wish to. That's their business. Our job is to continue to grow, mature, and exude the kingdom of heaven's scent and the kingdom of heaven's ways. So this area of our calling that deals with extreme visibility means we are extremely vulnerable. And the Holy One has designed life for us to be vulnerable. His people cannot be lords over the rest of the world. We can't be somehow exempt from their problems. We can't be free from any of their issues or difficulties. We can't be in some sort of privileged state. We have to live like they live, in the world where they live, but out there in a place where we're very vulnerable. If you want to know why things happen to us the way they are, it's a part of the vulnerability index. It's the part of who we are. We must be visible and we must be vulnerable. And with those two things, visibility and vulnerability, comes accountability for everything we speak and everything we think and everything we project with our body language and our gestures and our actions and everything we do and everything we build and everything we value and prioritize. That's all out there, and we're accountable for all of it because the world is watching. We're vulnerable and we're visible. And everything we do has a present and a future impact. We touch not only the age in which we live and the people around which we associate, with which we associate, we touch futures, bloodlines, geographical spaces, latitudes and longitudes, and we leave impressions and we leave impact behind. And we do it within our assigned borders where the Holy One has given us spheres of influence to have some level of relevance to people in places in them. And we do it beyond every place the sole of our foot shall tread and every place where the sound of our voice shall carry. Yes, vulnerability, visibility, and accountability. Well, as we get ready to conclude the fourth Sefer of Torah, our training ground season of wilderness wandering is drawing to a close. We've been in the wilderness. It's been a glorious and a horrible experience. It's been all the above. We have had, if we were going to look at this through the eyes of how it felt to us, many times we would have turned back and left. But we've learned it's not about us. It's not about how we feel. It's not about what we think or believe. It's not about what our priorities are, unless our priorities are the priorities of our King. It's learning how to subordinate and subject our priorities and our feelings and our approaches and our beliefs to the plan of the Creator of the universe. That's what the wilderness has been trying to teach us, has been teaching us. It's been strategic, but that season of wilderness wandering is drawing to a close. The primary focuses of this season in the wilderness has been preparing us, heart and mind and soul and body, for relevance and positive influence, or opportunities at least for positive influence with extreme accountability. Now we're going to, beyond this, our journey's not over, because we're going to cross the Jordan River. We're going to experience life on the other side of the Jordan. We're going to then go to Gilgal. We're going to go to Jericho. We're going to go to Ai. We're going to go to Achor. We're going to go to Mount Ebal and Mount Gerizim, and we're finally going to go to Shiloh. That's in this one generation. We're going to see there's more to come, but that more to come is based upon learning the lessons of the hard lessons we learned in the wilderness. The second thing about about coming to relevance and positive influence opportunities is we're coming to accountability for the great mission of bringing redemption and to mankind as a species. and bringing restoration to the ecosystem of creation so it can function again as it did in the Garden of Eden's days, in a state of beauty and of fruitfulness and shalom. So yes, this has been the primary focus of the season. We can't wait to see what comes next. We'll find out in the book of Deuteronomy, of Devarim as it's called in the Hebrew. But let's first summarize what we've done in this book and the lessons we've learned as we've taken this journey with Moshe and Bnei Israel, Yehoshua, Aharon. We've taken Miriam. We've taken this journey with even some characters we don't like to remember, like Yitro and Korach and the 10 spies, and Dathan and Aviram and the Amalekite and the Midiani and the Emery and all these different. We've taken this journey. We've met these people. We've gone to these places. We've felt the pain. We've felt the glory. We've tried to learn how to connect with the Holy One through it all. Sefer Bimidbar has taken us on quite the life-changing adventure. It's been quite the odyssey. We have followed the pillar of fire and the pillar of cloud all the way throughout this journey, from the flaming mountain of the Holy One at Sinai to the sprawling Moravian plateau that overlooks the Yarden River, the Jordan as it's called in the Western world, and the city that the Western world knows as Jericho, Jericho in the Hebrew. We followed the pillar of fire all this way. And now we're here. We can see our future ahead of us. We can see our destiny awaiting us. How will we apply the lessons we've learned in the wilderness? And how will we impact the world in front of us? We have traversed watershed after watershed in the wilderness. We've walked through wadi, mostly dry, after wadi, mostly dry. We have painstakingly made the transition from the mystical monastic shadows of Sinaitic seclusion, where we were all by ourselves, just us and the Holy One, experiencing the beauty realm, and these great, wonderful downloads of revelation. That was what came from, the mystical monastic shadows of Sinaitic seclusion. And we've come away from that into the bustling arena of nations that rage and of peoples that imagine a vain thing. We thought our destiny was to be at Sinai, but it wasn't. Our destiny, our calling, our mission field is in the world of raging nations, in the world of peoples that imagine vain things. Well, it has taken a generation, this odyssey, this journey we've had through this wilderness, through the Midbar. But the lessons of life we have learned. Oh, how this odyssey, if we have walked with our ancestors through the Torah's narrative, through the Torah's medium, if we've walked with our ancestors, how it's changed us, how it continues to be changing us. This is not just stories that we read to entertain ourselves or to think we know more than other people know. This is a life-changing experience. It changes our perspective and our frame of reference. We view all things through the lens now of what happened on the road to Sinai and the road from Sinai to the Moabian plain and the road that lies ahead. We review all things through the lens of these two generations of Bnei Israel that were the seminal generations, the ones that set the pattern for our lives forever. So the first way this odyssey through the wilderness has changed us, it has changed our perspective and our frame of reference and the lenses through which we look at the world. Therefore, it has changed our worldview, what we think the world is all about, how we think it works, why we think it's here, and why we think we're in it, what part we have to play in it. It's changed that. It's changed our sense of what is and is not important in life. We thought our feelings were important. We thought our pleasures were important. We thought our comfort was important. We thought our will was important. And now we realize those things are all to be subordinated to the plan of the Holy One and the will of the Holy One. We have grown through these journeys through the wilderness in our understanding of what Ra Shakat Hamas, evil, corruption, and violence, cruelty, as the world in the Western world calls it, That's also can be translated the lust of the eye, the lust of the flesh, and the pride of life. What these things have done to the world, to understand what these things have done and are doing and will continue to do if there's not a counterbalance, if there's not an offset, how they will continue to destroy this planet and the people and the bloodlines within it. But we understand not only what Rosh Hamas, lust of the eye, lust of the flesh, pride of life are, but how to become a delicate, appropriate, effective counterbalance, an offset to that by our behaviors and our ways. We have learned to understand what these things have done to our planet, and how now that is why we have raging nations and peoples that imagine vain things and folly and vanity and illusion and delusion obsessions. We understand that now, and that our mission and our calling is to offset that and be a counterbalance to it and bring hope to it. Our understanding of our covenant calling as kingdom of heaven-scented counterculture. That is what we're supposed to build a kingdom of heaven-scented counterculture. We have to first experience the kingdom of heaven sent and the beauty realm and the interfacing of heaven and earth and the downflow of Kedusha, divine energy that fuels and fires up the things of heaven. And we have to understand that and carry it, and then we can release it to the world. Well, this has been a long and difficult season in Sefer B'Midbar of special forces level kingdom training, discipline. We've learned it in the wilderness. Have you learned it, my beloved friends? And have you understood that how important your life is, how important your bloodline is, how important your interaction, interface with the Creator of the universe is, how important your ability to connect and have this portal open from heaven to earth to release on earth as it is in heaven the things of the Holy One. Do you understand the permission to which you're called? Every step of the choreography in Sefer B'Midbar, in the wilderness journey, has been important. Each obstacle that we encountered along the way was strategically designed for us, for our ancestors first, and as we read it and as we really relive it, for us. Each obstacle was strategically designed to prepare us for one aspect or another of the challenging mission ahead, to model to the hostile nations and the vain imagination obsessed ethnicities of the world the Holy One's more excellent way and his grand plan of redemption and restoration. Well, what have we learned in the course of this journey? We could take the rest of our time around the Shabbat table today just to discuss what all we've learned. Let me just hit a few highlights, and hopefully you will catch the vision as I begin to discuss these things. Get a cup of coffee or a cup of tea or some kombucha or whatever you're drinking or water, and just come around the table now and let's talk about what we've learned in the wilderness. In the course of the journey through the wilderness, our ancestors took it and we take it each year with them through the reading of the Torah. In the course of this journey, we have been taught and tested on the secret wisdom of our King, the mysteries of, and I'm going to list some mysteries for you here, but I want to talk to you about the word mysteries first. I'm not talking about esoteric mysteries, things of spiritual, supernatural idea, concept. I'm talking about tactical and practical mystery. Mystery of how to fix things that are broken, people that are broken, bloodlines that are careening out of control, nations that are raging. How do you fix these things? These are the mysteries, the tactical, practical mysteries of wisdom, secret wisdom of the Creator of the universe. He designs for us to know, to internalize, carry, and exude and release in the world. So what are these mysteries? The first mystery is the mystery of the Creator's identity and his persona, how wonderful he is, how brilliant he is, how good he is. If you don't know him as a persona, if you don't know him, if you have not encountered his majesty and his glory, and if you've not been awed by his goodness and his wisdom, then the rest of these things will not make much sense to you. It'll sound like some religion, but it's not. It's a relationship we have with the creator of the universe that founds and becomes the foundation of everything. So the first is the creator's persona and identity and who he is. And the second is his grand plan. As I said, he's wise, he's brilliant, and he has a grand plan to redeem mankind as a species, bloodline by bloodline, household by household, individual by individual, as many as will come. It's amazing. And he also has a grand plan. That is, the next step of that grand plan is to restore all of creation, longitude and latitude, square inch by square inch, across the world to its original intended Edenic state of beauty, yes, of fruitfulness, and of wisdom, and of shalom, and of harmonious interaction, of synchronism, of synergism. Well, that's the plan. We've come to know, of course, the journey, the secret wisdom of his plan. If you know him and you know his plan, then the things that happen in the world around you, the challenges, the trials you face, become a little less daunting. They're still tough because the world's challenges are tough. But they become less daunting because you know there's a reason for it all. And there's a plan behind it all. And there's a helper, there's an engaged divine persona helping you in this process. So, the persona himself, who he is, what he's about, his grand plan, the third mystery. I hope you're getting all these and being caught up in the glory of it. The third mystery that we've learned in the wilderness is how to recognize and offset and counterbalance the fruit of the tree of the knowledge that is running rampant through the world. How to recognize and then begin to offset and counterbalance the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. This is where we encounter and we learn to walk a fine line and be the boundary line that stops the intrusion of tuma, uncleanness, choleh, profanity, ra, evil, or that which is self-obsessed and self-narcissistic, shakat, that which is corrupt, that which is causing things to dissolve and devolve into different directions as opposed to working together in a unified whole, and hamas, that which is just cruel and violent and vicious and causes the shedding of blood and the breaking of soul of man that needs to be fixed. These are the things that we learn to recognize and then begin to strategically offset and counterbalance. This is the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And then there's also what we're called to recognize and offset is the fleshly and the pseudo-intellectual patterns the world has developed of folly and of vanity. Everything you see on the news, everything you see on the internet, all the stuff the nations are doing, or the groups are doing, or the Olympics are doing in this season of time. Everything you see out there, it's just the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And it is folly, and it is vanity, and don't get caught up in it. We learn to recognize it for what it is. It's humanity under the influence of the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And we learn to be, okay, our job is to offset it and counterbalance it. The next mystery. What's the next mystery, you may ask? What's the next mystery we've learned in the wilderness? How to receive and steward infusions from heaven of energy, the energy that fuels the four living creatures, the 24 elders, the cherubim, the seraphim, that cause them to do what they do in the heavenly realm around the courts and the throne of the Holy One, to say what they say, to engage in the actions they engage, to carry the wisdom and the understanding among the elders and the council of the elders up there, and to understand that we can bring that to the earth. It's called Kedusha. The English word is usually translated as holiness, which is sort of a state of something. Who knows what that means? Kedusha is actually flowing, free-flowing energy that will inspire, enthuse, and empower us to be able to do that which is necessary to bring heaven's ways, heaven's thoughts, heaven's words, heaven's shalom to earth. What's the next mystery? There's more. And the mystery we learned in the wilderness is to implement divine protocols of tikkun nefesh. Tikkun nefesh is just a Hebrew phrase. It means the healing of the individual soul. We are dealing with broken people out there. You don't expect them to be. We don't judge them on the basis of the fact that they're not perfect. Heaven forbid that we could do that. Our idea is to recognize where they're broken, how they're broken, and not to judge their actions based on being broken people, but to say, okay, how can we make How can we heal this broken soul? How can we heal this broken heart? How can we heal this broken mind? How can we heal this broken bloodline? How can we heal this broken ethnicity? How can we heal this? Not condemn it, not destroy it. How can we begin to bring restoration and healing to it? What's the next mystery? Not going beyond tikkun nefesh and individuals that we encounter along the way that are broken and what to deal with them, how to implement divine protocols of tikkun olam, the other kind of healing, of restoration that we're talking about. Redemption, tikkun means to fix or to restore, to heal. Olam means the world. It means the age. It means the generation. It means all the things that make up the human life. So how do we fix life? How do we bring truth and wisdom and goodness and kindness of the whole and the divine's plan of redemption and restoration into areas, into ages, into seasons, into generations? How do we do that? This is the mystery we've learned in the wilderness. And the final thing that I'll talk about that we've learned in the wilderness, the mystery we've learned, is how to fail miserably but not quit. How to fall on our faces and do horrible things in the same sense that the world does. Follow the folly and the vanity and the shakat and the hamas and the ra and the tuma and the chole and the pseudo-intellectual nonsense of the nations that rage and the peoples that imagine vain things. Follow the appetites of the flesh. We've done this. We've fallen on our face in the wilderness, but we haven't quit. We will not quit. We cannot quit. This is the mystery. How to get back up and go and try again. Reconnecting with the source, reconnecting with the identity and the persona of the Holy One, reconnecting with his grand plan, reestablishing the interface and the portal where Kedusha can flow into our lives. And we can begin to follow his lead in making tikkun nefesh for people's individual broken souls, and for tikkun olam for fixing the world that he wants us to do. Well, for better or worse, the obstacle course of the wilderness has been completed once again this year. Our boot camp, our special forces training is over. Are you ready for deployment? Are you ready to be assigned a post and a sphere of influence and a series of mission objectives to fulfill and a series of assignments, tasks to do? Not to sit there in an ivory tower and judge everything that's wrong, but to actually go about the business of making tikkun nefesh for individual souls and tikkun olam for the world. Well, the next phase of covenant calling, the phase that will continue from this point on into the book of Deuteronomy and to the end of Torah and to the end of time, is the finding and assuming of our post in the kingdom plan and establishing an on earth as it is in heaven portal that will be permanent in us and our children and our children's children and our generations to come. This portal through which the great Kedusha, holiness, energy infusion that the world so desperately needs can come and continue to flow. You see, all eyes are on us now. And if they are not at this instant, they soon will be. We are visible, we are vulnerable, and we are accountable. Every facial expression, every gesture, every syllable we utter, every word we speak, every phrase we release, every story we tell, every comment we make, every criticism we levy, every judgment we declare, every song we sing, every poem we write, even the tone of voice and the vocabulary we choose to use, every action, every reaction, every engagement with the nations and with the peoples and with the situations and the challenges of life, everything we are encountering, we are on the clock now. We are responsible. we have impact, opportunity to influence and impact the world. It comes with this vulnerability. So every engagement with the nations and the peoples is important. We don't have time to just express our opinion and blow off steam. We must speak that which is bringing tikkun nefesh and tikkun olam. And we must follow through with actions that correspond to what we spoke and make it true. We have to know when to remain silent, when it's better not to speak, when it's better not to act, better to just be who we are and continue to do what we do under the covenant plan, and when it is time to intervene. The world, you see, is a pond, a still water pond at this moment, and the things that we have learned, the things that we do, the gestures we make, the words that we speak, the vocabulary we use, the tone we use, our reactions and actions, they become like stones that hit the pond's sheen and create a ripple effect. How far will the ripples go? What will be the impact of the ripples? Well, the things that we vow, the first thing we'll talk about in the parshas Mattot and Massei is Moshe will begin to address with us the importance of what we say. The things, you see, that we let our mouths speak, we promise, we affirm. The things that we declare, they become binding upon us. They become as much of an identifying factor of who we are and why we're here, as Torah does. Now, that way we must be very careful to make everything we vow, everything we say, consistent with and to advance the agenda of the Torah and the kingdom. We don't make vows, we don't make promises, we don't make affirmations, we don't make declarations just because we want to, or we think it's the right thing to do, or we've been indoctrinated or taught to do it by somebody else. When we make a vow or affirm affirmation or a promise or a declaration, it becomes as binding and identifying to us as Torah does. So be careful what you speak. If you speak negative, if you speak judgments, then you must live by the judgments that you've proclaimed, and you will be judged by those judgments. Now let's go on beyond the vows, the issue of the vows that will be discussed in the first opening verses of Parsha Mattot. We must understand that the people who come against us, the peoples of the nations, the raging nations, the peoples that imagine vain things, those who come against us and cannot tolerate us and react against us and curse us, they really do become accursed themselves. We become the dividing line. We become that point. So we understand our responsibility in regard to that. So we're going to see war with Midian and the way that the Holy One has declared Nakam Nikmat about Midian. Understand, this is about our relationship with Midian, what they've done in relation to us. And the realization needs to dawn upon us that how we act, how people respond to us. We can't control their responses, but we control what they respond to and what they react to. And that's why it's important that we make sure we don't give them any reason to be accursed, because they will be, as Midian. The nation of Midian was accursed in this parsha of Mattot. And we're going to learn that by virtue of what we say and what we allow our flesh to desire, we can either aid or sabotage other people's shalom, their destiny, and their heritage. We're going to learn a lesson about the division of the tribes between the Transjordan and inside the west of the Jordan. Inside the actual Eretz Canaan, where we're supposed to be. That's our staging point. That's our beachhead for the kingdom to be released into the world. There's going to be 2.5 tribes who decide they'd really rather stay to the east of the Jordan, in the lands that they've taken over after the failed attacks of the Emory and the failed attacks of the Moabite. And we now find ourselves in possession of all their grasslands and their cattle. And so the 2.5 tribes, Manasseh, half tribe of Manasseh at least, and Reuben and Gad, they want to stay on the east side. Now the issue is that impacts the other tribes, all the other families of the nation, and it impacts the world. Where we stay will impact the world. So these are decisions that must not be made lightly and flippantly. What's going to happen is the 2.5 tribes are going to make a vow. That they're going to vow they will subordinate their own desires to live in the land where they want to live, to help and make sure the destiny and heritage of the other tribes is obtained first. Well, this is how we give self-sacrificially to other people, learning how to subordinate our individual desires and wants and dreams to the dream of the great collective, the nation, the plan, the kingdom, great nation people that is designed to be the model to the world. And the fourth thing, we have to learn we leave treasures or we leave trash in every place the sole of our feet tread. And everywhere the sound of our voice is heard. We either leave treasure or we leave trash. What do you want? Then we learn that we learn that in the 42 stations of the wilderness, as we begin Parsha Massei, the last Parsha of the Torah, we learn that we've gone 42 stations, 42 places the Holy Ones led us to camp. And in each place we had the chance to leave a treasure for the world, for the people that came after us, or we had a chance to leave trash. And too many times we've left trash of our mouth, trash of our attitudes. And see, the issue is whenever we fall, whenever we fail, we have to get back up and go again and face the next challenge and see if we can overcome that challenge then. We've also learned that, and we will learn in these parshas, that we will be called to be, Torah calls it build, or set aside, or appoint, something called cities of refuge, arei miklot, cities where there's safety, there's shalom, there's security, there's a chance to be redeemed. The idea is if someone is under the curse of the anger, of the emotions, of the vengeance, of the bloodlust of people, they're on the outcast side. Maybe and a particular example that's used is if they've accidentally killed somebody. Well, of course, the avenger of blood doesn't care about the facts or the circumstances. They just want blood for blood. And so the avengers of blood always work the way the nations rage. Their tendency of the flesh is always to just react and lynch whoever it is that they think did the dark deed. And so the Holy One says, no, your system of justice, your system of dealing with these challenges will not be like the rest of the world. Just let the Avenger of Blood do what the Avenger of Blood does. There will be a system, a legal system. There will be a system of due process of law that will be followed. And this process will involve making sure that everybody who is under these curses from their fellow men, under the being hated by their fellow men, and other people want to kill them, they have a place to go, a place of safety and refuge. They will not be condemned or killed on the basis of somebody's accusation or on the basis of somebody's emotional reaction to something that happened. But there will be a neutral arbiter not involved in the situation who will make that determination, and that it can last for the whole life of the high priest until things calm down in the world. And the Holy One knows that things do calm down. They change. There's pendulum swings of public mood, and we forget one scandal shortly by virtue of the next. So he gives it time. Also, the other aspect of the due process that he's teaching us, he will teach us, is you do not condemn or you do not make any decisions based upon the testimony of one witness or upon the testimony of your own emotions or feelings. There has to be a confirmation of 2 or more witnesses, and these witnesses must be eyewitnesses that saw what they said, not to think they believe something or are angry about something or testing on behalf of somebody else or with hearsay. No, these must be eyewitnesses who are not personally involved in the situation, in the controversy, in the dispute. You see, this is a due process system that's going to be in place. Now, we can preserve and advance. We're going to learn through these parshas that we can preserve and advance the grand plan of the Holy One, or we can default to the selfish, the fleshly, the romantic, the sensual urges, and the pseudo-intellectual and soulish ways of men. And then we learn this through this lesson of the second visit of the daughters of Zelophehad. What happens is we're going to find out that the elders of the tribe of Manasseh, who, remember, half of them want to stay on the east side of the Jordan, the other half want to go to the west side. These tribes are about to divide. And so they come up to Moses with this question: what happens to if the daughters of Zelophehad marry someone? What if they marry someone from a different tribe? And where does the land that is being assigned to them in the promised land, where was this land going to go? Will it go to their father, to their husband's tribe, or will it stay in their tribe? How will it be devised? And what happens in the Yobel, in the Jubilee? To whom will it return? Who will this land be? Who's supposed to go back to that land and take care of it again? And so these questions are good questions. They're theological questions. They're theoretical questions. But Moshe makes it very practical. Okay, so the issue is the land is supposed to flow with the father's bloodline. So what's going to happen is the daughters of Zelophehad are going to have to sacrifice. They're going to have to sacrifice the idea of loving whoever they want to love, or being romantically involved with whoever they want to be romantically involved with. And they're going to have to agree and vow that they will only be taken as ishas, as wives, by members of their own tribe, actually their first and second cousins. That's a sacrifice they're going to have to make in order that the grand plan will go forward generation after generation after generation. And the daughters of Zelophehad vowed to do it, and they did it. They married people within their own tribe, their own father's house, so that the land could continue to evolve. You see the impact, cross-generational impact we have. And then the final thing we'll learn in Parsha Massei will be that we can fix the world. Yes, we can fix souls, and we can fix the world. How do we do it? The answer is not going to be pleasing to your pseudo-intellect. It will not be pleasing to your religious indoctrination. We can fix the world. We can fix the individual souls through acting out the mitzvot and the mishpatim of Torah, to do what the Holy One told us to do, what his plan is. The grand plan involves the mitzvot and the mishpatim. And the final concluding verse of Parsha Massei, the final concluding verse of the book of Numbers, Sefer Bamidbar, is going to tell us that through the mitzvot and the mishpatim are all things to be accomplished. These, ele ha-mitzvot ha-mishpatim. These are the things, the instructions, and the decrees of wisdom through which the Holy One is going to change the world. So we can fix the world through the mitzvot and mishpatim of Torah, or we can continue to see it destroyed through nation rage and vain ethnocentric imaginations. So whose mark are you going to leave upon the creation ecosystem? Whose mark are you going to leave upon the broken souls that you encounter in the world? Whose mark? What kind of mark? What kind of scent will you leave behind? What kind of impact will you have? Well, let's sing our call to worship, and we'll be through for this day. As you begin to break into your groups, as you begin to go to your family members and your friends, and you go to your little communities and you begin to talk about the Torah, you begin to share and commune with the open portal of heaven, the source of all answers to the most important questions in life. We need to have our call to worship firm in our hearts. So this is our Baraku, the blessing before reading from the Torah. Baraku et Adonai Hamborak. Baruch Adonai Hamborak Leolam Vaed. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Asher bakar banu mikol ha'amin v'natan lanu et Toratu. Baruch Ata Adonai Noten HaTorah. And now may you open all our eyes, O Holy One, that we may see the wondrous things that you've put in your Torah. And we know we are just strangers, foreigners in this earth. So do not hide your commandments from us. Well, it's time for me to leave you. Leave me a line, drop me a line Let me know where you are, that you're listening, and anything you'd like to say. Be blessed. I'll see you next week. Shabbat Shalom.